Hey everyone, it is Anna the Books, and today we're going to be doing my bookshelf tour. Okay, I have to maybe cut off my head a little bit because I'm like crouching down. But so we're gonna go through all my bookshelves. I have 2 tall bookshelves and then I have 2 shorter bookshelves. We're gonna start on the shorter ones because they have like my favorite books on them, and I wanted to like get to those before you guys get bored, or people usually watch the beginning, so I wanted to show that first. But I have over 300 books and I'm really excited to show them. I love my books and I love my bookshelf. These are literally my prized possessions. So yeah, let's get started.
Okay, first we're gonna start with my small bookshelf, and this has all of my favorite books. And the first shelf here is all of my science nonfiction. So we have my environmental science, human biology, and space science. So I have this little Lego alligator, so let's get started. A global warming primer. I don't know who the author is. A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. He actually turns 100 this year. Climate Justice by Mary Robinson. Field Notes from a Catastrophe by Elizabeth Kolbert. The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Kolbert. How to Give Up Plastic by Will McCullum. Nature Anatomy by Julia Rothman. The Gene by Siddhartha Mukherjee. The Story of the Human Body by Daniel E. Lieberman. The Tale of the Dueling Neurosurgeons by Sam Keen. The Violinist's Thumb by Sam Keen. The Future of the Mind by Michio Kaku. Know This by a bunch of different scientists. Galaxy Girls by Libby Jackson. The Case for Mars by Robert Zubrin. Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Quantum Theory, a Graphic Guide. Death by Black Hole and Other Cosmic Quandaries by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Cosmos by Carl Sagan. And a silly little Doctor Who book all about their different monsters. You Are the Universe by Deepak Chopra and Menasee Cavatus. And I have this little astronomy book from the 50s that I got at an estate sale. Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by Lindsay C. Gibson. And Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh. This next shelf is a lot of my favorites and my mythology and just magical realism books. Never Whistle at Night, an Indigenous dark fiction anthology. Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. Galatea by Madeline Miller. 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Circe by Madeline Miller. And 2 copies of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. One is mine and one is my husband's.
Hey.
Life of Pi by Jan Martel. How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. Lovely War by Julie Berry. Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. And Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. To the Bright Edge of the World by Eowyn Ivey. The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Harpan. I Have Never Known Ben by Jacqueline Hartman. My only Emily Henry books, A Million June and The Love That Split the World. This was her peak, in my opinion. Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And continuing on with more favorites and more magical realism. Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. And Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaghy. Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Bunny by Mona Awad. And Alatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I Crawl Through It by A.S. King. Still Life with Volcano by A.S. King. Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King. And Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Saunders Vanderleer. Now on to horror. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. We Spread by Ian Reid. Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. And I have the first 3 volumes of Death Note in these black editions. Slewfoot by Brom. Ring, sorry, I'm voiceovering this part so I can't read the author's name on this. Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix, Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova, and The Unworthy by Agustina Bastrica.
Okay, now this shelf is the top left shelf of my big ones. So this is where I keep all of my classic novels, and they are organized by publication year to the best of my ability. So let's get started. Okay, I'm here. I guess I'll like go through my little trinkets here too. I have like this little box that I've had since I was little. This, I don't know, it was like a squishmallow or something. And then this is actually the little souvenir from my henna, and it's my mom's friend actually made these. So I keep one up here and it's super cute. I have the Quran, so Inferno by Dante, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Emma by Jane Austen, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Lady Susan by Jane Austen, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, Walden, Life in the Woods by Henry David Thoreau, The Woodlanders by Thomas Hardy, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, Light in August by William Faulkner, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, The Wall by Marlon Hashover, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, A Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, and the last one on this shelf, The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. Okay, the next shelf has my children's classics, plays, and poetry. I have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, my 3 copies of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, and of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder, The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. Now we're in the plays, The Tragedy of King Lear by Shakespeare. My favorite play is Lysistrata by Aristophanes, Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, and Othello by Shakespeare. The Night is Darkening Round Me by Emily Bronte. I know this is technically a book, but I keep it in the poetry section. Unearthed Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, Gifted Poems by Dylan Thomas, Bending the Universe by Justin Welch, Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson, Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Wolf, and Edgar Allan Poe, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Again, this isn't poetry, but you know, he writes poetry. I don't know, I just put it in this section. In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I hope this reaches her in time. I can't remember the name of this person. Book 2 by Paulo Coelho. The Love Poems of Rumi. Love Her Wild by Atticus. I Wrote This For You by Ian Thomas. Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell. And The Dark Between Stars by Atticus. Okay, the next shelf has history and nonfiction and historical fiction. Up here I have one of my baby's books, Corduroy, and then I have my what is this called? My embosser for my book. Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand, The History of the World in Bite-Sized Chunks by Emma Marriott, Profiles in Courage by John F. Kennedy. I used to be obsessed with him when I was in high school. Zodiac by Robert Graysmith, Nuclear War, A Scenario by Annie Jacobson, Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. I did read this because it was summer reading for my AP World History like 10 years ago. We Should All Be Feminists, and Dear Ijewele, or Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Killing Kennedy by Bill O'Reilly. I read this when I was in high school, but I heard weird things about this author, so let me know. Bernie Sanders' Guide to Revolution.
The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, and A Land with the People, Palestinians and Jews Confront Zionism, edited by Esther Farmer. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne, Everything is Illuminated and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini, and A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I feel like a lot of my historical fiction is all World War II, and I really need to make an effort to find more because I haven't read any historical fiction in like over 5 years. So I need some new ones, so let me know. But next is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, Florida by Lauren Groff. Okay, I decided to move on to go to my top right bookshelf. So we're going the second big bookshelf, and then I'm gonna do the bottom 4 shelves of these two after, because they are, I don't know, they're packed with like a lot of my YA books, and I wanted to go through, I don't know, my more relevant books and then do those last. Like that's why they're down there, because they're usually hidden behind my little chair that I keep near my bookshelves. So the next section is all of my science fiction books. The first 3 volumes of Welcome to Night Vale, Mostly Void, Partially Stars, The Great Glowing Coil of the Universe, and The Buying of Lot 37. Pines by Blake Crouch, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, Your Utopia by Bora Chung, The Martian by Andy Weir, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, Armada by Ernest Cline, and Illumine, Gemina, and Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, Severance by Ling Ma, Nixia and Nixia Unleashed by Scott Rantgen, and Dune by Frank Herbert. Next shelf is continuing with some science fiction and then also some mystery thriller. Exhalation by Ted Chiang, The Husbands by Holly Gramazio, The Blue Book of Nebo by Man and Stephen Ross, The Tatami Galaxy by Tomohiko Marini, Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, Zoo by James Patterson and Michael Ledwig, The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, When We Wake by Karen Healy. When I was in high school, this was like my favorite sci-fi series, and it's 1,000 Pieces of You, 10,000 Skies Above You, and A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray, Learning to Swear in America by Katie Kennedy, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, The Lying Game by Ruth Ware, The It Girl by Ruth Ware, Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, Night Film by Marisha Puzzle, Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite, The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. Continuing with my thrillers and then going into some fantasy. One by One by Ruth Ware, The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and 0 Days by Ruth Ware. Next I have The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. So there's The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, Blue Lily Lily Blue, and The Raven King, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, Kennebasis by R. Kwong, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I read the whole trilogy, but I don't have the 3rd book, A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, and Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Okay, now we're getting towards like the bottom shelves, so let's just get started. A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I don't plan on continuing this series. As you can see, I have the extremely old editions, because I read these when they came out like 10 years ago, and yeah, I'm not going to continue, but I have them. I'm going to keep them because I feel like these are like rare editions. The Secrets of Divine Love by A. Hedwa. Okay, now a lot of these, I have some of my YA, there's going to be more on the next bookshelf, and then
all of my middle grade books from when I was literally in middle school. Challenger Deep by Neil Schusterman. The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. Paper Towns by John Green. Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Internment by Samir Ahmed. The classic The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Looking for Alaska by John Green. Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. Big in This by Rhonda Abdel Fattah. I'll See in the Cosmos by Jack Chang. Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard and Magnus Chase and the Gods of... Oh, they're both, okay, the same name, but just book 1 and 2 by Rick Riordan. The King and the Dragonflies by Kaysen Callender. A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. Princess Academy by Shannon Hill. Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. Every Soul a Star by Wendy Mass. The Other Side of the Island by Allegra Goodman. I remember buying this from the Scholastic Book Fair. The Reinvention of Bassica Lefter by Kristen Tracy. Double Identity by Margaret Peterson Haddix. I read this in 5th grade. Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer. One of my favorite books in middle school and elementary school. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blow.
Continuing on with my young adult. Let's Get Lost by Addie El Said. The Raft by S.A. Bodine. I remember the twist at the end was crazy to me in middle school. Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. Never, Always, Sometimes by Addie El Said. Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Gorilla by Ashley Boston. Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. How to Love by Katie Katugno. We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. Playlist for the Dead by Michelle Falkoff. The music in this is actually so good. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. All the Bright Places. This next section is really messy. It has my old YA dystopian. This whole Got Roaches in Her Crib by Quan Mills. 5 Centimeters Per Second by Makoto Shinkai. Vincent by Barbara Stock. Lore Olympus, Volume 1 by Rachel Smith. And The Ocean Was Our Sky by Patrick Ness. Peter and the Secret of Rondoon. I remember my mom getting me this summer before 6th grade, so I've had this for a long time. Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant, and 4 by Veronica Roth. Then I have the trilogy of the selection, The Elite and The One by Kira Cass, Happily Ever After by Kira Cass, and The Heir and the Crown by Kira Cass. The Fifth Wave, The Infinite Sea, and The Last Star by Rick Yancey. The Maze Runner and the Scorched Trials by James Dashner. Pulse and Tremor by Rick Carmen. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. We are finally on the last shelf. And it's again just a lot of random stuff and romance. 13 Gifts by Wendy Mass. Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Is that her name? 11/22/63 by Stephen King. It by Stephen King. The Shining by Stephen King. Night Shift by Stephen King. Carrie by Stephen King. My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsten Greenwood. And last but not least, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston.